Hi all, my name is Lisa Holt. I'm a run formula coach. I've been with QC2 for a few years now. Hopefully you can all hear me. If you can't, someone hopefully let me know in the questions box. This is a presentation on shoes, shoes, and shoes. Thanks for coming. We'll be just going over some shoe basics. We'll talk a little bit about some of the specialty brands out there and some of the different types of shoes. If you feel free to ask if you have any questions at any time, just go ahead and shoot them in the questions box in the GoToWebinar control panel. Here we go. Running shoes. You know, how do you choose? There's so many out there. What types do you need? All of that, right? You could go into a running store and there's a million there. The basics. You want to have a nice, comfortable shoe. It should feel comfortable right out of the box. It should feel comfortable on your foot. A good pair should last 300 to 500 miles or about 3 to 4 months, depending on how much you're running. How do you know if they're worn out? You can look at the midsole. You can look at the outsole. The midsole is the foam part of the shoe. You can kind of squish it. You know, is it easily compressible? The outsole, you know, like the rubber part, you know, the durable part. Is there any tread left? You know, are you having any holes in the upper, you know, the fabric part of the shoe? Any of those things, it's probably definitely time to get a new pair of shoes. I keep track of my miles on shoes, but it's been something that I've done since I was in college. So there's always that option as well. But generally speaking, if they look really worn out or they're falling apart, then it's definitely time to get a new pair of shoes. What shoes should you be running in? My first and foremost, my background comes from working in a running store. I used to manage a local shop in Ithaca, New York. So I always recommend there. You're able to try on a bunch of different shoes at the same time. You can kind of get a feel, you know, for what one shoe feels like and then another shoe. I used to always recommend people to put two shoes on at once and you get a side-by-side comparison. They also frequently will have you use a treadmill or have you run outside and kind of go for short jogs and see how they feel running, which is really nice. You know, if you buy online or on Amazon or any of those places, sometimes they don't have the best return policy or you don't know what they're going to feel like, especially if it's a new shoe. Local running stores also have a really good return policy or credit policy. Way back when there was a new model and I ended up walking home about a half mile and I brought them back and they were super great about it. So, you know, definitely take advantage of that. If you hate the shoe, you think you like it in the store, you get home, you go take it for a short run, definitely take it back. You know, that's what it's there for. Your local running stores will also kind of either watch you walk or your run and kind of recommend what you see. We will talk a little bit about that in the next bullet point, but sometimes it's nice to get another perspective, you know, if you think you're one thing, but you're not, you're the other. And by that, I kind of mean looking at the wear pattern of your shoes. Your shoes will really help you know kind of what kind of gait you have when you're running, whether you are a neutral runner, you overpronate, or you underpronate. And you can see those next bullet points right there. Your neutral pronation, your wear pattern is in the middle of the shoe. You know, it's kind of from the heel and then comes forward. That just lets you know that your foot remains neutral and aligned in the shoe. It's not what we would say overpronating or underpronating. Overpronating, you kind of hit the end of the shoe and your toe goes your wear pattern goes towards the medial side or the inside of the shoe. That just typically means your shoe's not giving your foot enough support. Your ankle kind of turns inwards. And then the opposite is underpronation or supination, where the wear pattern is on the outside of the shoe. So it's kind of like your ankle turns outward or you run on the outside of your feet. So those are the three basic kind of different shoes when people look at when you're kind of going to a running store or you're looking for something new. Fit tips, so shoe size, you know, definitely start, you know, maybe with what you think is your normal shoe size and a regular pair of shoes. Running shoes can vary between brand to brand, excuse me. But however, we do kind of want to make sure we have enough room in the toe box. The foot swells up naturally from running, you know, increased blood flow happens throughout the whole body, right? So we definitely want a half to a full thumb width in the front of the shoe, just to accommodate and make sure your foot is feeling comfortable in that shoe. I always like to have people take their sock liner or the little foam insert out of the shoe and step on it. And you'll kind of know if your foot's really over to one side, then maybe that shoe's not the best for you. You want to make sure your foot is kind of more inside of that shoe or in that sock liner and feeling comfortable. So it's a little tricky if your foot is kind of coming over that sock liner. I also have orthotics, and I recommend if you do have orthotics while you're running or walking or any of those things, to make sure that you bring those with you with your shoes. Those you want to make sure fit also and sit nicely in the shoe. So having those can definitely help you or the sales associate or whomever make sure your foot is kind of feeling comfortable and your orthotic is feeling comfortable in that shoe. Some more types of running shoes. We talked a little bit about, your neutral, your overpronation, your supination, but then obviously there's road shoes and trail shoes. Road shoes are designed to be a little bit more durable on the road, sidewalks. Most of them are pretty light and have a good amount of support. Within our road shoes, we have a couple different categories. We have our neutral shoes, our minimal shoes, and our stability shoes. However, for you ultra runners or trail runners, there's obviously trail shoes out there, which are pretty awesome. They're definitely designed for trail running. They can feel a little firmer. Some of them will often have a rock plate, but they still offer a good amount of support and cushioning. They have a more typical rugged outside sole excuse me, outsole to keep from slipping on the rocks. Which it does make a big difference. I've gone running in road shoes. I've gone running in trail shoes. Trail shoes are really awesome in the trails, especially if you're in a really rocky area and slippery or muddy. They can really help you have a little bit more durability and balance and traction in the trails. Neutral shoes. I think that people think your typical running shoe is a neutral shoe. They have a good amount of support, cushion, rather flexible. They often have a heel drop that's about 10 to 12 millimeters. The heel drop is basically how high the heel is over the forefoot. So how much cushion is in the back compared to where the ball of the foot is. Your neutral shoes, your typical running shoes have about a 10 to 12 millimeter drop. So the heel is 10 to 12 millimeters lower or higher than the forefoot. The neutral shoes will provide shock absorption. It is your typical shoe. It's just the Brooks Ghost, the Saucony Ride, and Asics Cumulus, the Nike Pegasus. Those are kind of their tried and true neutral shoes and of those brands. And some of their more popular shoes as well. Next are our minimal shoes. They definitely fit lighter. They typically are still a neutral shoe. However, there are some models out there that have some posting in it or offer more of that support in the stability shoe. The flatter heel and toe. So the heel is typically 4 to 8 millimeters higher than the heel than the forefoot of the shoe. So the heel is lower than your neutral shoes, but still sometimes can be a little bit higher. There are zero drop shoes as well. We'll talk a little bit about Topo. Ultra is another brand of that where the shoe is completely flat. With minimal shoes, there's less cushion in the heel. It's supposed to help you feel more natural when you're running and taking somewhat away from that heel strike. Some of the minimal shoes are the Brooks Pure Flow, the Saucony Kinvara, the Hoka One One Clifton, and the Topo Ultra Fly. Stability shoes. I touched a little bit based on that in the last slide. The stability shoes are good for runners who overpronate. So those are the ones where the wear pattern is on the inside of the shoe. They have a firm, denser material on the inside of the shoe where the arches to kind of help give a little bit more support. And that keeps the foot from rotating too much towards the medial side. The types of shoes are the Brooks Adrenaline, the Saucony Guide, and the Asics GT 2000. We talked a little bit about trail shoes. Again, they're designed for trail running. They're a little firmer. Some have a rock plate to protect the foot. They have a ruggy, stick-it out sole, but still offer a good amount of support and cushioning. Some types of shoes for trail shoes are the Saucony Peregrine, the Hoka Speed Goat, the Brooks Cascadia, and the Topo Terra Venture 2. Talked a little bit about Hoka. Hoka is a big brand that's doing a lot out there right now. I'm sure you've seen them. They're the really, I have a picture as well, but they're the really ones with the big midsole. They kind of either look like, those Skechers shape ups. Much better shoe, but the Skechers shape ups or moon shoes or things like that. Hoka was initially embraced by ultramarathoners due to their enhanced cushioning, and they were really stable. They definitely gained popularity because they offer a lot of cushioning without a lot of weight. They're low profile, so there's a low drop, but they have a lot of cushion, and their shoes are definitely for road, trail, and all terrain. The midsole is really marshmallow soft. I've used them before, and they're really comfortable to run in. There's a various different thickness in the sole, depending on what you're looking for, what you like, but they're also pretty light. The maximum cushioning allows for a great shock absorption, good comfort, and performance on runs of all distances. They also are kind of curved, so it's a smoother transition in the runner's gait cycle. So from when you kind of have your initial contact, whether it's a heel strike or a midfoot strike, and then you roll off towards the midfoot and to the toes. So it's a nice smooth transition. Like I said, it supports the natural running of a gait, a smooth toe off, and then it's designed to have increased running efficiency. The other big thing that I like about Hoka is what they say is their active foot frame. And if you look at a Hoka, or you're familiar with a Hoka, it looks huge, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to roll my ankle. But you actually sit down in the midsole, so it does offer support left to right, so it's not as unstable of a shoe. Also, it's pretty wide. But it helps with the stability of the shoe, and it also allows for a wide range of feet because they're a little bit wider, and they can offer some extra support. Topo is another great shoe company that's doing a lot of awesome things that I think people don't necessarily haven't heard of. They offer a really awesome roomy toe box. So a lot of people will either be in running shoes that are too small, or the toe box is too narrow for their feet. Then the bigger roomy toe box lets the toes splay more, and it's more of a natural way of running. So letting that have that toe splay really keeps the foot to be able to move more freely rather than being very rigid. Some people can develop bunions or bunionettes, or have a lot of issues if there's not enough toe room. They also still provide a really secure heel and midfoot, which is really comfortable, because if it's too wide, your foot's all floppy and moves all over the place. So having that nice roomy toe box, but yet a nice secure heel and midfoot, really keeps the foot still kind of in place without feeling like it's too much room. They are low drop. Some of their models range from 0, so completely flat, to a 5 millimeter heel drop, which also, again, is more of a natural way of running. And they're super lightweight. They're super comfortable and cushiony, but not super heavy. Wrap up. So running shoes should be super comfortable. Running shoes should change them every 300 to 500 miles. Most of your running stores will let you have exchanges if you don't like them, even if you wear them outside. Again, you're more than welcome to buy them online. I don't work at the running store anymore, so don't worry about that, obviously. But it is nice to go and be able to try a bunch on, kind of have a good feel for what you're looking for, and have some help, or have some guidance if you're unsure. Some of my references and some of my information. Do we have any questions? No questions on shoes. Any questions, any brands you aren't sure of, or any brands that maybe let me see if I can. Looks like we have a question. I apologize. I'm trying to figure out how to get there. Looks like if you go in the question spot, you might be able to ask one. All right, I'm going to unmute you. Jeff, did you have a question?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you so much. My name is Jeff
Yeah.
Drum, a QT2 athlete, and I'm calling from I'm on from San Diego. I had a question. So
Sure.
my local running store about 5 years ago, and they recommended a stability shoe. So ever since then, I've been running on the Brooks Adrenaline, and I get a couple pair every year, and I've just stuck with the Brooks Adrenaline. How, I hear so much about Hoka One Ones, and of course they're one of the major sponsors of Ironman and everything, and a lot of people are running with them these days. They don't really advertise that their shoes are stability, but they say that people who need stability shoes can wear them without any problem. What's the best approach to maybe trying a different shoe? I certainly don't want to injure myself.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. I would say that if you've been in a shoe, it's been working really well, but you're interested, which I think is wonderful because different pressure points in different shoes can also strengthen your feet. I would start slow, start, especially if you're a QT2 athlete and triathlete, start with your Zonar run. So kind of get them on your feet a little bit, walk around in them too, make sure, they feel okay, kind of, because it is a lower drop than your adrenaline. So you want to make sure that you adjust appropriately to that and let the muscles kind of rework themselves through it too. But I would say start, if you have a 20-minute Zonar run, start there and see how they feel. You can always go as far as even potentially starting or, finishing up a run with them, but who wants to change their shoes halfway through a run? So I would say start with your Zone One runs, off the bike, kind of keep it nice and light. And then you can kind of transition that way too, or have an extra pair, maybe you definitely stick with your adrenaline for your longer runs or your key workouts, but you can always work them in that way.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that helps answer. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions I can help with? All right. Well, feel free if you want to reach out. My email is lisa@therunformula.com, or you can email any of our coaches. They can always get in contact with me as well, or the message board, or however you want to reach out. But feel free to think about it. If you have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to help and answer them. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys learned something, and hopefully, it helps you. All right. Thanks, guys.